Hi there, CJ Math students. So I'm going to read to you your Unit 1 test and tell you what each section is about and how to set up problems. So Section 1, ordering, comparing, and rounding. Use your reference sheets for help. Please have them out next to you. Question 1. Which of the decimals can be placed in the sequence below so that the numbers are ordered from least to greatest? So right now these numbers are ordered from least to greatest, and there's a blank here. You need to choose one of these numbers that keeps them in order from least to greatest. I would start off by putting the numbers that you know in our table here, leaving a blank for the number that you're going to put in, and remembering that you can add zeros if you need to. So I would test each one of these numbers to see if you put it in here, will it stay in order from least to greatest? If it does, that's your answer. Number 2, which of the following has the least value? So again, I would go ahead and write your numbers out, remembering that you can fill in any empty spaces with a 0. So notice you're not comparing 3 to 29 now, you're comparing 300 to 290. Compare all those, pick the least value. Number 3, which of the following has the greatest value? So again, I would set up your table by stacking your numbers, fill in any empty spaces with zeros, and look for the greatest value, comparing these numbers to each other. Compare the following using less than, greater than, or equal to. This is the less than sign. You remember you point to the smaller number. Sorry. This is the greater than sign. You remember you eat the bigger number. So 21.2929 versus 21.3. Again, it's helpful to make sure that you stack your decimals and fill in any empties with zeros. Now compare the numbers using less than, greater than, or equal to. Number 5, compare the fractions using less than, greater than, or equal to. And I gave you a hint here. I said butterfly method. So you're going to want to tell me what 8 times 8 is. You're going to want to tell me what 9 times 7 is. And then compare them using less than, greater than, or equal to. Show your work by underlining the correct place value in the question. Round 733.399 to the nearest hundredth. Round 6009.46 to the nearest tenth. Use your reference sheet to understand where the hundredths place is. Use your reference sheet to understand where the tenths place is. The hundredth place in this number is not 7. That is the hundreds place. You want to find the hundredth place. The tenths place in this number is not 0. You want to find the tenths place. So you would underline whatever place value you think the 100 is, circle the number behind it, and then give me your answer whether you're rounding up or down. Question number 8. Mr. Mason went grocery shopping yesterday. He drove 5.6 miles from the school to the store. I would write down 5.6. After shopping, he drove 3.21 miles to pick up his dry cleaning. 3.21. Finally, he drove 4 miles to get home. 4. How many miles did Mr. Mason drive altogether? So the word altogether, use your reference sheet, will mean some operation. It will either mean subtraction, addition, division, or multiplication. You need to use that operation to go ahead and solve this and tell me how many miles he drove altogether. Jonathan got a great deal on a new Xbox game. He only paid $34.54 for the new Call of Duty. Trayvon paid $59 for the game. How much more did Trayvon spend than Jonathan? So Trayvon paid $59. Jonathan paid $34.54. How much more is a keyword or phrase that should tell you to do some type of operation. Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Writing your numbers down, it seems to make sense that we should line up our decimals since this is operations with decimals, right? And you can always fill in empty spaces with zeros. So a decimal would go there, 0, 0. So how much more did Trayvon spend than Jonathan? You need to go ahead and figure out which operation you need to use to solve that problem. Question 10. I always ask you to stop putting pens in your mouth because your mouth has saliva, and saliva carries a lot of bacteria. Awake, you produce 0.52 milliliters of saliva per hour. How much saliva do you produce in 10.5 hours? So you have the number 0.52 and you have the number 10.5. How much you produce in 10.5 hours? If it was 1 hour, I produce 0.52. If it was 2 hours, I could figure that out by doing some type of operation. I want to know how much saliva I produce in 10.5 hours. Use your reference sheet to figure this out. Number 11, you recently got a new job. You earned $75.60 working an 8-hour shift. How much do you earn per hour? Okay, so we're going to try and find out the per hour, which is going to be 8 divided into 75.60. Try and figure that out. There's a bonus question at the bottom. It says circle one. You don't need to circle one. About how many times more is this than the 4 billion people living on less than $4 a day? So when you get your answer, think about how many times more is it than $4. Question 12, section 3, basics of fractions, simplifying, converting, and ordering. Which is equivalent to the fraction 11 over 6? This fraction is improper, so I'm asking you to go ahead and make it a mixed number. Use your reference sheet to find out the question. How do I turn improper to mixed? Which point is closest to the point 4 over 3 on the number line? So again, this is improper. So what I want you to do is convert this into a mixed number, just like you were converting this into a mixed number, and then pick the point that represents what you think the correct mixed number is. Number 14 and 15. Which number line shows the correct information for 1/2, 1/4, and 2/3? So you need to place 1/2, 1/4, and 2/3 correctly on the number line. One of these number lines has placed them correctly. It might help you to compare 1/2, 1/4, and 2/3 using less than, greater than, or equal to with the butterfly method. 1 and 4, what does that give you? 2 and 1, what does that give you? Compare them. 1 and 3, what does that give you? 4 and 2, what does that give you? Compare them. If a circle is a whole, which fraction represents the total quantity? Write the picture as a mixed number and then convert it. So I have 2 wholes and a fraction part of 1/4. You need to take this mixed number and convert it to an improper fraction. One of these will be your answer. Operations of fractions, addition and subtraction. 5/7 plus 1/3. So write down 5/7 plus 1/3, and then you need to find common denominators. So we will multiply each of these by some number to find common denominators. 11/8 minus 1/3. Again, you need to find common denominators, so you'll multiply each of these by some number to find common denominators. 1 1/2 plus 2 2/3. 1 1/2 plus 2 2/3. You will multiply each of these fractions by some number to find common denominators. 1 2/5 minus 5/4. You will multiply each of these denominators by some number to find common denominators. Remember, in 19 and 20, look out in case you have an improper fraction. You can add that onto a whole number later, or in 20, you may have to borrow from a whole. If I'm borrowing one whole from here, the whole is 5 over 5 that I can add to 2/5. Number 21, Curtis drank 2/5 of his Gatorade that he earned last week. Amir drank 1/2 of his Gatorade. How much did they drink all together? Using your reference sheet, the word all together should tell you some type of operation. 2/5, some type of operation, 1/2. I'll be either adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. Use your reference sheet to look up the word all together. A local river in Ireland had a depth of 11 2/3 feet at the start of the spring. By the end of the summer, the depth had dropped 4/5 of a foot because of a rare drought. What was the water level at the end of the summer? 11 2/3. The word dropped means we'll probably be reducing minus 4/5. So again, you need to find some sort of common denominator to multiply both of these by. Multiplying and dividing fractions. Remember, you do not need common denominators, so no common denominators. You want to look to cross cancel, and when you divide, you want to make sure you flip the second fraction. Okay, so very straightforward. Look to cross cancel. 11/6 and 6/5. I would rewrite the problem if I were you here to show your work. 9 times 1/3. Remember, you can make this a whole number by making it over 1. Remember, when you're dividing, you will want to flip. So I would, if I were you, draw some sort of flip symbol. But first, I would write it normally to show me that you can show some work. Again, first, I would write it normally to show me that you can show some work. Multiplying and dividing mixed numbers. Remember to change mixed numbers, change mixed numbers to improper fractions first. So 1 2/3 you will want to change to an improper fraction. 4 1/2 you will want to change to an improper fraction. 1 1/3 you will want to change to an improper fraction. 3 3/5 you will want to change to an improper fraction. Finally, number 29. Dwayne Wade currently has a one-year deal worth about $24 million salary with the Chicago Bulls. Bulls rookie Denzel Valentine's yearly salary is 1/12 of what Dwayne Wade makes. How much is Denzel's yearly salary? The word of should tell you some mathematical operation that you should do between 24 and 1/12. 24 as a whole number, remember, it can be turned into a fraction simply by putting it over 1. Given the width and the area of a football field, you can find its length by dividing the area by the width. The area by the width. A model of Panzer's field has an area of 6 2/3 square inches and a width of 1 1/2 divided by the width of 1 1/2. What is the measure of its length? Draw a picture rectangle. So here's your picture. The area is 6 2/3. The length is 1 1/2. They want you to find the width. Please answer that question. Make sure you put units in your answer.